Good evening. Madam Clerk?
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec, notice of which was sent to the record and the Star Ledger and was posted on the municipal bulletin board.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Battaglia. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Councilmember Sims.
Here.
Councilmember Greenman is absent. Mayor LaBrus.
Here. Before we move further, I'd like to have a moment of silence. Councilman Battaglia's mother passed away last night, so if we could just observe a moment of silence for about 30 seconds. Thank you. Thank you. And on a brighter note, I'd like to celebrate tonight is Mr. Sims' birthday, or today is Mr. birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. Okay, would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Approval of minutes from March 18th, the 2014 calendar regular meeting. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, we're going to go into public hearing on our 2014 budget. I have a motion to open this to the public, please.
I'll offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, anybody who would like to get up and speak on the 2014 budget, please come up to the podium, give your name and address to the clerk. Seeing none, motion to close to the public.
I'll offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Mangan, is there anything you'd like to say on the budget before we move forward?
Yeah, if I could just talk a little bit about the budget process. Okay, when we did the introduction on the budget, okay, we had said it was a work in progress. Okay, and it still is. There will be a budget amendment. Okay, we're not ready for the budget amendment at this time. The plan right now is to have the budget amendment prepared in time for the next council meeting, which is the 21st, I believe.
20th.
The 20th, okay. And before then, the Finance Committee will meet and will decide when to have the public hearing on the amendment and the actual adoption. Okay? Thanks. The problem that we're facing right now is that since the introduction of the budget, we did file the annual financial statement for 2013, which means that we've basically closed the books on 2013. And while we knew that we were going to finish 2013 without an operating deficit, we were hopeful that we would finish the year with more surplus than we actually do have. If you remember during the budget, the introduction, we talked about revenue at risk and the fact that surplus can be considered a revenue at risk. You know, the city for too long has relied on too much surplus. The problem is that there are events that can cause surplus to not regenerate. That's what happened to us. We were anticipating $3 million in surplus in revenue in the budget. At the end of the year, it turns out we only have a surplus of about a little more than $2 million. Of the $2 million in surplus that we have, only $1.7 million of it is actually held in cash. So at this time, what we're planning, one of the biggest budget amendment is instead of $3 million in surplus as revenue, we'll be using $1 million in surplus as revenue, which means that we have to find alternate revenues in the amount of $2 million. Alternates in the way of substitute revenues, budget cuts, or failing that, increased taxes. And that's why we're not ready with the budget amendment tonight, but we will be. Right now we're sharpening the pencil, as Captain says, and we'll be ready for the next meeting.
Thank you. City Manager's report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, Slam Dunk the Junk Cleanup Day was a success. There was cleanup on American Legion Drive and also Sly Park. The Hackensack Cultural Arts Center at 39 Broadway is featuring a pop rock musical called Bloody Bloody. That's May 9th through May 18th. Additional information would be on the Hackensack website at hackensack.org. The Hackensack newsletter, it's called actually Hackensack City News, is in with the final revisions. Should go to print this week. It will be distributed by the Record. We'll have extra copies at City Hall, the library, the DPW, and the building department. Fourth, rainfall flooding issue on Hudson Street. That seems to have been resolved. We've been doing well there. The pothole company, Ingermore, we extended their term for one more week to help with the pothole efforts in Hackensack. And on really good news, we received 2 new grants. One from the NJDOT, excuse me, for $149,000, and that's for rehabilitation of Grand Avenue, so paving.
That one I saw.
And also Click It or Ticket grant for $4,000. That's for funding for overtime costs for the police department to conduct the seatbelt enforcement within the city.
You know if that NJDOT grant is a matching grant or not?
It's not a matching grant.
It's not a matching grant?
No, it's not.
Okay,
Just for, and that was put in actually last year, so we got awarded this year.
good, very good.
So thank you, Mayor.
That's it, thank you. At this time, I want to, before we go into the ordinances and resolutions, I'd like to bring up Mr. Fran Reiner again to speak on this park issue. I know there's some more people here tonight. Want to hear about the park? How are you, Mr. Reiner?
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Happy birthday, Councilman Sims. I just wanted to, and I understand that the Atlantic Street Park is going to be continued over to the May 20th meeting, given the absence of the councilman and councilwoman. But I did want to clarify a couple things from last night. Having heard a number of comments from the public regarding costs and revenue, so I'm just going to touch on 2 things, and then I want to talk about revenues regarding the park. So again, the base bid provided by Let It Grow was for $585,500. As we indicated last night, there's an open space grant that the city had received for $268,085, which left the city essentially $320,000 for the park. What I didn't go into as much detail last night, and I want to do today, is to talk about the revenues that are created by this park with the Atlantic Street garage and with the adjacent on-street parking that's being put back. So last year, the Lot W had 63 parking spaces, and they generated $18,975. That was $9,735 from the metered spaces in Lot W, and another $9,240 from the monthly spaces in Lot W. So again, in the year 2013, and this is consistent with the 4 previous years as well, he generated around $19,000 from that asset. The project, as we discussed last night, would include incorporating a total of 137 parking spaces. There are approximately 52 parking spaces that are currently unused in the garage. And so by adding the 137 parking spaces, 45 back on street, and then 72 within the garage from a monthly, and then 20 more daily in the garage, the revenue potential for the project would actually be, for the metered spaces, would be approximately $18,600, and for the additional 72 monthly spaces, it would equate to approximately $45,500. So the potential revenue that the city could see from the construction of this park would be, based on the parking, would be about $64,000. Again, last year they generated about $19,000. With this plan in place and opening up the spaces that are currently available and not being used, you could see a revenue potential of about $64,000 on an annual basis. Now, to be fair, the city could get that money today by opening up the spaces and simply leasing those spaces to adjacent property owners that are interested in the spaces. So this isn't a found amount of money, it's just money that the city has not been collecting on, and that the park has essentially opened up the possibility of realizing that revenue potential, which for the several years for the past few years has not been realized. So that's something to talk about, how you could generate revenue off of the project. The other revenue sources that are currently being considered by the city are obviously the potential sale of Lot C. As everybody is aware, Lot C was designated an area in need of redevelopment. The intent was to go out to an RFQ, RFP for developers to develop that property. As a part of the development of that property, the city is requiring that a minimum of 200 public parking spaces be put back into any private development project. So there are three potential revenue sources that are generated by Lot C. The first, obviously, is the sale of the property itself. It's 4.3 acres, and so there's a significant amount, I would say, in the millions of dollars of revenue potential for the sale of that property. And that would be a one-time event for the city. An annual event for the city would be, currently that property garners no tax revenue, and there's no ratables since it's city-owned property. A mixed-use development of between 240 and 440 residential units, which is what's allowed in the redevelopment plan, would generate hundreds of thousands of dollars on an annual basis of additional tax revenue and ratables for that project alone. And then finally, the use of the 200 public parking spaces, as you do a redevelopers agreement with a potential developer, would be to share the public parking revenues from that public asset. So you have revenues generated from Lot W. You have, by opening up the Atlantic Street Garage and taking advantage of what is currently an underutilized asset, you have revenues from the potential sale of Lot C, from the taxes generated by the development of Lot C, and from the shared parking also on Lot C. And this does not account for any of the other multi-family residential developments that have come to the city that would also generate increased tax revenue over the properties that they're proposing projects on. So I just wanted to clarify that for members of the public that with good reason have concern about the amount of money. $320,000 is not an insignificant amount of money, but there are revenue sources that I wanted to clarify today. I also want to just clarify the process that what the city would be doing would be, they would be bonding for the entire amount for the park. They would be bonding for the $585,000. And then after the project was completed, the county would be reimbursing them the $268,000, and the remaining $320,000 would be paid over a course of a number of years by paying down the debt service of that $320,000. So it's, and if I'm incorrect in that.
No, Frank, you're exactly
Okay.
right. But if I could just make one point,
Sure.
'cause last night it was brought up about possible partnerships, donations, things like
Yes.
that. Any of those things that come in, the wording of the bond ordinance says that if any of those events happen, it immediately goes to pay down the debt. So that's already built into the bond ordinance.
Okay. So I wanted to clarify those from a revenue standpoint. I do want to state again, I've seen a couple of individuals that come in that we had been speaking with over time, and just to reiterate, we do believe that there are both short-term solutions that we have worked out and long-term solutions. The biggest issue that is currently going on right now is that the county parking lot has been taken up by the project that the county is building, and so all of the cars are being asked to park in the record site. And I went down to the record site, and essentially it costs $5 for a day to park at the record site. And what people are doing is, instead of paying the $5, they're finding spaces on street and in Lot W, and they are meter feeding those spaces and essentially taking up spaces. So we believe there are short-term solutions by having time limits. We have offered to open up 38 parking spaces for daily parking during construction. And we are going from, as I mentioned last night, 63 spaces currently in Lot W and offering 137 spaces as a long-term solution with the ability to open up literally another 160 spaces that the hospital has. So we believe those are more than adequate to take care of the needs in the short term and also to deal with the needs in the long term. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This time I'd like to temporarily open the meeting to the public, maybe to speak on this issue only. Maybe a motion to open this to the public, please?
I'll offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody who'd like to speak on this part, please step up and give your name
Mr.
and
Mayor,
address to the clerk. How are you, Mr. Chase?
I'm good, Your members of the council and mayor, thank you for giving us an opportunity to be heard. I'm very fortunate in that I have been on that corner of Main and Atlantic Street as of this month, 54 years. Opened my office there in 1960 in May. So I'm fortunate to be able to give you some perspective based on history and a very, very hopeful perspective on the future. I will say in opening that for 30 years, my property had an occupant of a bank on the corner. As of December 31st of 2013, that bank vacated the premises, did not renew lease, and one of the reasons was the lack of parking. I've also been trying to follow this project as it advances, and I'm somewhat bothered by much that is going on. Just recently, this week, in the newspaper, the Hackensack Chronicle, the Upper Main Alliance, which obviously knows nothing about the Lower Main area, took out a paid ad, and as I understand it, the Upper Main Alliance is partially funded by our tax dollars. And in that ad, it seems they have reprinted a rendering of the proposed open space, they call it downtown, that was prepared by Mr. Reiner. And they say, as Mr. Reiner just did, that this parking spaces and the costs will eventually be covered by future tax revenue generated through development. I will tell you that on that block, where mine is the first office, I counted, and all that exists in the way of what is there commercially are 16 law offices and 4 accounting offices and a real estate brokerage. That is what occupies the buildings, the commercial buildings from the corner of Main and Atlantic to the corner of Main and State, Atlantic and State. We are taxpayers and have continued to pay taxes. Our tax revenue will not increase if we can't occupy our properties. The people who come to see us are not strollers who need a park or a bench. They come for appointments, they come for meetings, they finish their business, they leave. And for the last 6 months to a year, they haven't been able to find a place to park. In fact, I had a meeting scheduled at my office last week, 3 attorneys to be there, 2 other parties, a court stenographer, 10 o'clock in the morning. By 10:30, everyone had called, say they were circling, looking for a place to park. And I would say the expense incurred was almost $900 of wasted money and time because people couldn't park. I'm sure that Mr. Reiner is well-intentioned and believes that hopefully someday this will occur. But I believe it's something like the rendering that shows the trees in the area. Those trees won't look like that for 10 or 12 years. The park that was allegedly built outside my office 30 years ago ended up being nothing but scrub grass. So I volunteered to the city that if they put in a sprinkler system, they could hook up to the water in my building. I'd pay for it. And so that was done. And now what we have is, I would say, crabgrass and weeds and a chain link fence. No benches and no people, because there are no strollers. There's no one going to stroll through this park. There's no one going to utilize this park. And to say that we need someplace to have concerts, if there'd be 3 a year or 4 a year at the most, they certainly wouldn't be held when there was business going on or commercial activity. They'd be on weekends. Well, on weekends, it's deserted. You don't need additional parking, and you can set up a band stage as they do at the Court Street Park or the park down by the courthouse. Additionally, the creation of or the approval of 222 residential units on the corner with inadequate parking and not one guest parking spot can't help, but it'll certainly hurt what we already have. We have the people circling, we have the people from the courthouse, we have ourselves. I've been renting spaces in the city garage now all these years since it was built. Now there's a project that was also touted as a wonderful attraction. Well, I don't believe those bonds have been paid yet. And it's a long time, I think it's 25 or 30 years. So I don't know how these bonds are gonna be paid. Then the city spent $650,000 for the Masonic Temple, which has not yet become the cultural center it's hoped for. And that cultural center has 6 parking spots.
You're going to have to wrap it up pretty soon, Mr. Chase. We have a 5-minute limit.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you,
I didn't announce it. Usually I wait for the public session.
I don't have much more to say, other than I don't believe that there is a planning course at any college or university anywhere in the world that would tell you you improve a bad parking situation by taking away parking spots. Oh, I also have a name for the park if you don't agree. It'll be called the 3U Park: unneeded, unwanted, and unused.
Rich Gelber, head hater, angry bird, resident. Mayor, Mr. Chase was my T-ball coach, so I know him a long time. Do you know the motto of his firm? Take us to court. He's a really tough guy to go up against. I can't agree with him more. I don't know, Mayor, if you know the history about Area W when the garage was built.
Vaguely.
You know it indicted the mayor. It indicted several councilmen.
Mm-hmm.
That thing has an omen over it. I don't think that the garage is 41 or 42 years old. I don't believe it has ever shown a profit to the city. I don't think its potential tax that it could get as a commercial property in this town has ever been seen as parking revenue. If the hospital wasn't in there under an overflow situation, I don't know if it'd even be worth opening the door, because I don't think it's even profitable with the hospital utilizing it. We've had a dramatic decline in parking. We've had a dramatic decline in the city. I think putting money there now is crazy. Every single grant that's out there that it's expiring, or we have to buy it, we have to get it today. It won't be here after Friday. For every grant that expires, maybe 2 more come out. I know build it and they'll come. I think that's not going to work here. Now, I'm not a planner. I don't know if anyone here understood anything the planner said. I've heard plans here. 1978, I saw the new plan for Main Street. We put Main Street one way, and State Street, of course, in the opposite direction. Not by the doing of the council. City manager and the council was very, very cautious about it. They threw it back to the Chamber of Commerce. They wanted a study. They wanted a 3-week trial. They insisted on the Chamber coming. There must have been 100 people here from the Chamber. The City Council very much distanced themselves from it and said, we don't want to be blamed 20 years from now for this disaster. Well, guess what? 35 years later, we're putting Main Street back for, I understand, over $1 million just to change the traffic flow. And Mayor, that's not going to fix the problem. That's not going to fix the problem. The only thing that's going to fix this problem is put an economic development director in here that really knows his stuff, that has a proven track record, that has done development. I don't think the choice we made is the right choice there. Certainly not the right guy to be city manager also. Mayor, everything this guy has done in the short time he's with the city has been a disaster. He's opening us to litigation. He uses strong-arm tactics with personnel. He's been unfriendly to business in the town. This guy is not Hackensack. He's nothing like the city of Hackensack. I think you gave him a trial. If you want to put him back in his economic spot, let a year run and see what he does, fine. He's entitled to trial. This guy is not city manager material. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kathleen Salvo, 184 Hudson Street. Last time we met, I came up and I opposed the park, and now I feel even more strongly about it. My reasons being for opposing it was that all these attorneys, who were the great tenants possible, have put a lot of money in there, and they were good tenants. Redevelopment is not synonymous with bringing people to Hackensack. People bring responsibility. We need more services, we'll need more police departments, we'll need more, ambulance services, fire department, etc. The city of Hackensack will not change in its geographic location. We're less than 5 miles wide. But to have more people in Hackensack, it's going to put a burden on the taxpayers. Like Mr. Gelber said, there are lots of grants out there. There's no big rush. Don't let them bully you into rushing into this. We could see what happens, what kind of impact this is going to have with these new locations, and we could always go back and get it. Don't think you have to get it because we're going to lose it. We own the land, and there's always grants out there. I thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Ed Lippener, 9 Coles Avenue. Unlike the previous speakers, I happen to be strongly in favor of this project. I think it would provide a vital and strategic improvement that would benefit both residents and visitors alike, and greatly enhance the overall environment, of the physical environment of the city. In the scheme of things, I believe it's an extremely modest investment. There are literally thousands of visitors and employees in the county complex that could be drawn deeper into the business district of the city every day by this. And the city needs to take advantage of the present activity, which may not venture as far away as they should, and benefit the city in doing so. Recently, the city received a pocket park at the corner of Essex and Main as a gift, and that's a great looking improvement. But this is at a different scale and appropriate, and will provide a focal point for the city's recreational activities. I believe, and so the fact that it got a gift for that park, it should step up to the plate and be proactive in making an actual investment on its own. And I do believe it would be a major blunder not to take advantage of this opportunity. And in closing, I just want to say we need to overcome the cynicism, the skepticism, and the negativism, and move more to a can-do attitude. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? Jason Sohm, 151 Prospect Avenue. Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councilman Sims, thank you. I would like to start with the park. Everybody's focusing on this park. The park is linked to another project, which is a cultural arts center. And that's something that this city drastically needs. It's going to bring in the revenue, and if you see the gentleman back there, that's so deservingly so need to be paid a little bit more. The only way for this city to get more revenue is to have something to create it. So I'm going to keep it short. People were saying, I've heard through the grapevine that a problem with why we can't go through with the money for this park is the streets and the potholes. And my family knows firsthand what hazardous roads can do. I think that the town and the city, they have enough money to do both. And thank you for letting me speak. That's it.
Thank you.
Joseph Contaldi, 27 Warren Street, Hackensack. I've met Mayor and Council. I've met some of you before. I've come around to the point where, at this point in time, I have to oppose the park. I've been in the city with my business since 1982. I've had property and ownership interest in that building since 1987. All of the properties in that surrounding area are commercial properties. Our building, we put in over $1 million since 2007. It is 100% occupied, and most of the buildings on that block are in great shape. As a matter of fact, the only 2 tracts of property that were in need of rehabilitation was the city-owned parking lot and the Capadagli development property, which now is, construction is underway. I've been told that there was no agreement to Mr. Capadagli that we would put a park in for his development. So if that's true, he's already going forward with his development. There's no reason why, at this juncture, that the city should be putting a park in that area. We do not know, as Mr. Chase and some of the other speakers have indicated, what the impact of his development is going to have. It's 222 units, which the city only allotted 1 parking space per unit. And I say, think about this. How many of those units do you think are going to have 2 cars, and how many of those units do you think are going to have 0 cars? I would respectfully indicate there are going to be a lot more units there that are going to have 2 cars than 0 cars. So out of 222 parking spaces that you allotted, what's going to be his number? 270, 290, 300? The cultural center. You received a letter from me because I already had problems in spots that I leased from the city with people that were, and the cultural center is not even open. They were working at the cultural center, parking in my parking spots. What is, have I heard any projections on a daily basis? Who's going to be, how many employees are going to be at the cultural center? What activities are going to be running at the cultural center? Where are these people going to park? We throw out numbers that will give you an extra 30 spots, an extra 40 spots. I can't tell you if that's going to do the trick because we don't know the impact of these developments right now. Respectfully, I would have preferred, when the city acquired the Masonic Temple and made it the cultural center, that we had partnered even with the businesses in the district. You know what? I've been in that building like this since 1987. You've been in the parking lot. It's deplorable. It's disgusting. There are potholes. There are sinkholes. I've had to call the city to get them to put sewer guards on because of the bottles and the debris being thrown in the sewer. Right now, I would say that the timing is not right. You've heard about the courthouse closing. It's impacting us. The way the courthouse project is moving, it's going to be a 5-year project. So what are we doing right now? Mr. Capadagli, I don't know when his project is going to be done for 9 months, a year. But the bottom line is that area right now, other than his property, is not residential. You have the record property that you're looking to sell. Mr. Sanzari did the city a favor. He built a property less than 400 yards away for free. When you develop the record property, get the developer to put in a park there. That'd be another 400 yards. Plus, it's along the river. It's wetlands that probably it would be best for everyone. Respectfully, there are many, many issues that the city has to address. And I get it that, you guys, when we talk about streets, we hear, well, we do this street right now, but we don't have the money to do all the other streets. And here we're going to sell lot C. Take the money and start repairing the streets. We have the storm drains are still hooked up to the sanitary sewer system. At some point in time, that's going to have to get changed. Part of the problem with Main Street is the infrastructure. I was here when they did the brickwork and they did some of the stuff. What does it look like now? Every time you have a water main break, a sewer blockage, they dig up the street. So respectfully, I think that the time is not right now for this park. I think that we should be waiting to see what the impact is on the development. Once you open the cultural center, what the use of that cultural center is going to be. You do have a resource, but it's impossible for anyone to determine how much parking we're going to need in that resource until these projects are underway. So, again, I urge the council to put off this project. You can revisit it 2 years, 3 years. when Mr. Capitagli is done with his project, he's rented his units, and that, and the cultural center is up and running. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. Next, please.
Good evening, Carol Martinez, 30 Emerald Street. A few months ago, I had come before you to discuss the City of Hackensack and the Hackensack Hospital's contract. I had Oprah the documents dealing with the parking lot and whether some buildings...
Ms. Martinez, is this about the park? Because we're only talking about this park at this time.
No.
Yeah, we're
Sorry.
only speaking, we're going to open up to the public again later, but this is
Okay.
just about the park, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Next, please.
Victor Sasson, 261 Euclid Avenue, Hackensack. I just urge the city to be more hard-headed with these developers who are apparently very interested in building in Hackensack. The city seems to have an inferiority complex, basically going to bed with these developers on the first date, when in fact, apparently a lot of them feel that there's a potential to earn millions of dollars in profits here. So you need to bargain with these people for amenities such as this park, for changing Main Street back to two ways. It's done all over the world, including in New Jersey. Every major project you hear about in New Jersey includes amenities or traffic changes that are paid for by the developer. And it should be happening here in Hackensack. Mr. Lombardo owns a lot of property on Main Street. He's going to be profiting greatly from redevelopment. He should help pay for some of this stuff. It's great to have a park. I'd love to see a park there. And I think these people who have businesses and complain about parking are very selfish. Parking in New York's a nightmare, so what do? Just close the town up? They have lunchtime concerts in Newark all the time. Why can't they have them here in Hackensack? Again, developers have deep pockets. They're going to earn millions of dollars on the city. You're selling every piece of land available to develop for apartments. You need to get them to give something back to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello, Noelle Freisen, 301 Beach Street, Hackensack. I'm also the marketing consultant for the Upper Main Alliance, so I'm a little bit maybe biased, but I see what this park will do for a livable downtown. I've worked with many main streets in New Jersey and in New York City, and I know that open spaces help bring people to the downtown and help revitalize it. Also, I think more importantly, I'm a mom. I'm a mom in Hackensack with a wonderful 2-year-old boy. And I want a livable downtown area where I can bring him, where I can go shopping, where we can stop at the park, where we can hear music. That's all about the lifestyle that myself, my husband, and my son want. So I just wanted to put in my 2 cents as a business person, but also as a citizen of Hackensack and a parent of Hackensack. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Evening.
Happy birthday, Councilman Sims. I can't think of a better place to be on your birthday.
Could you please give your name and address to the clerk?
Jerry Barta, 25 Main Street. I work with Alfred Cinzari Enterprises. I'm senior executive there.
Welcome.
Thank you. I've worked in Hackensack about 20 years. And as I recall, it's probably the 3rd attempt at redevelopment of the city. But the first one that has any legs, and rightly so. It was well thought out, visualized by the planner, Fran Reiner, by the mayor and council, and the proof is in the pudding. Shovels are in the ground, applications are in the building department, and it's beginning to gain traction both within the city itself and then outside the city. People are talking now about Hackensack. It was never part of the conversation. Now, almost by definition, redevelopment requires long-range planning and most importantly, economic foresight. And the city should be reluctant to potentially stunt the growth of the near-term economic decision at the expense of at the expense of the well-thought-out planning that had already been well aired out and passed by the city, by the mayor and council. As a developer, I can tell you that much of the attraction of a redevelopment stems from a greatly improved aesthetic component, and this park will contribute to that. And it's easy for me to, well, lest somebody think it's easy for me to spend somebody else's money. Obviously, the Sanzari organization is a significant taxpayer in the city, and so it's not somebody else's money. But I'd like to say two things. When we initially built Court Plaza down across from the green by the courthouse, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in creating a park atmosphere on the plaza of the complex. Many of the residents have seen it, have benefited from it. We opened it up to the Chamber and the Upper Main Alliance for an annual event. It's got park, it's got seating areas, lushly landscaped, very well received. Second, and more recently, we purchased a nearly abandoned building at the corner of Essex and Main. Essex and Main Street. That used to be a bank building. We purchased it with private dollars at a cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars. We redeveloped it as a park at a further cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we dedicated it to the city. Not because, I guess, honestly, there was some altruism involved in that. It was dedicated to David Sanzari's parents, but because of a realization that it's not simply concrete that develops a downtown. There's an aesthetic component that is equally important. So it's okay to talk the talk, but we're prepared to walk the walk, and we have. And I urge the mayor and council to approve the needed funding for the park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Arthur Zucker. I'm a member of the firm of Farrow, Labella, and Zucker. We have offices at 27 Warren Street. We have about 7,000 square feet. For those of you who don't know it, it's a condominium building. We own our property. Does that mean I'm done? Or?
No, not yet, sorry.
I don't envy any of you your job. I have to say that I have a lot of admiration for your patience. I don't know how you can sit here and hear these different points of views. Many of them are quite critical of the local government, including mine. So what we have done for 35 years is built a law firm that I'm really proud of. And I know the deputy mayor has seen my offices in our conference room for a meeting, and I would invite you and really encourage you to come look at our building. We've been through quite a bit. We had a fire years ago. We rebuilt it. It is a beautiful building. I think our law offices rival any office anywhere in the country. It's just beautiful. I say that. Talk about beautifying, and you can't talk about improving. You've got to talk about protecting what makes the city work, and its businesses, and that's what it is. There are a million places to build parks. Why in the world would you build one where it's going to interrupt my ability to have my clients come? That people already are circling. That's what's happening. I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, we cannot live with this. I've started to investigate filing a lawsuit. I believe there's a lawsuit to be filed, and we will do that. I don't like saying that. I don't mean it as a threat. It is a fact of life, because our lives are being threatened. My firm is being threatened. I cannot invite people to my firm without them having adequate parking. You all know what that would be like. Imagine if someone threatened to take your driveway away and you had to figure out where to park. Imagine if all of a sudden the place where you've been parking for 35 years was turned into a no parking zone. The building that is being built next door, the 220 units, I don't understand how that all happened. We didn't even get notice of it. there have got to be variances granted for that. I can't imagine that didn't happen. We didn't even know it was happening. We were told a couple weeks before that there was going to be a groundbreaking there. We had no idea. And the demand that's going to be placed on parking by 220 units, the visitors, the businesses, I'm already seeing it. People that are going to that site are parking in the meters. And I personally don't think anyone in their right mind could think this is a temporary problem or a problem only caused by the loss of courthouse parking. This is a significant problem. You cannot take away parking. You've got to add parking. That's what's got to happen. And it's got to be public parking, and it's got to be large. This is not a solution to anyone's problem. I'm telling you it's not. You know, we're going to be fighting this out in court if need be. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope you see the wisdom to what you've heard from several people. I hope you see the wisdom in our thinking. And I do not wish to be standing here. I don't wish to be standing here opposing the construction of a park, but this is how serious we are and how desperate we are. You will really harm our business. We cannot survive it, and we just won't be able to stand for it. And thank you for listening. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name is John Godino. I currently rent an office at 27 Warren Street. I've been in Hackensack for 30 years. We used to rent an office at 291 Main Street down by the Johnson Library. We moved because of the parking situation. We moved to 27 Warren Street because there was a parking lot available in front of our office. It's the easiest thing in the world to say to a client, where can I park? Right in front of the building. You're asking us to change that now and park across the street. Nobody's brought up the safety issue about crossing Atlantic Street in the middle of the street. There's no traffic light there. And I don't think people are going to walk to the corners. They're going to cross in the middle of the street. You're also putting trees up according to the specs that we saw, so that when you walk out of that Atlantic garage, you're not going to see our building. You're going to see trees in front of you. The building is actually behind the street, behind the trees. You're making it a tremendous inconvenience to people who own businesses there, who depend on parking. I think we can all agree that these days, the way instant gratification takes a form, if you go somewhere and you're unable to park once, twice, 3 times, you're going someplace else. We can't take that chance. We've spent years developing our business, and we simply can't accept the fact that now the parking that's available in front is now, we appreciate the alternative, but parking in the Atlantic garage is not going to work for us. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Jerry Lombardo. I'm the chairman of the Upper Main Alliance. I appreciate a lot of the stress that the council's going through tonight, and offer my condolences to the Battaglia family for his mom. I lost my parents not that long ago, and I know what they're going to be going through, what they are going through. So my sympathies to them, and happy birthday to Councilman Sims. So the stress of serving, I was the zoning board chairman in the town of Wyckoff where I live for 5 years. And my first meeting as the chairman, we had about a couple hundred objectors to the particular application that was before us. And I said to myself, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this. The police were there and there was a lot of people. But we got through that meeting and we eventually got a good result for this. After two and a half years of meetings, we got a good result for this city of Wyckoff. You know, I've heard Mr. Chase, and I have a lot of respect for you. In fact, you've represented me, and you and I have been friends for a long time. So we can agree. No, won't end it. We can agree to disagree. A lot of people disagree because they don't understand or may not understand the long-range planning that it's going to take to get this downtown turned around. Okay, we've been at it for 10 long years, 10 years, and we're just getting to the brink of where we are today. The importance of open space to the overall goal of the downtown development cannot be overstated. The professional planning community has impressed upon us that from day one, we need open space if we're going to have a great downtown. Okay, so you don't like it where we're going to put it, but we need it. Simply, successful downtowns need that space. They provide opportunities for social interaction, entertainment, fresh air, and quiet enjoyment. Statistics show that open space and parks increase property values. They also enhance the quality of life for those who already live and work there, and for many future residents that hopefully will live in the area. After years and years of hard work by so many, the transformation of our downtown is underway now. But it's going to take continued nurturing for it to continue. Both courage and vision will be required by those in leadership positions. Hackensack has a rare and hard-won opportunity to completely transform its downtown, and in the process, add significantly to the tax base. We have to add to the tax base. How else are you going to do it? We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars potentially in development of the downtown eventually that will produce tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands in tax dollars, so we can give the police the proper raise they deserve, and we can get some of these other projects done, like a rec center and all the other things. Otherwise, you're just pipe dreaming. You're not going to be able to get it done. This plan gets it done. But we can't weaken every time there's a bump in the road. The opportunity we have before us for development of our downtown cannot be lost for the sake of pet projects or partisanship or internal bickering, lest those who let it pass will have to answer to history. This council must have the vision and the responsibility to keep the little seedling that has been planted by the work of so many in the downtown alive, not just for themselves and for this moment in time, but for future generations. In case the new council is not aware, the people have spoken at a series of meetings we held over a 2-year period for the possibilities of the downtown. We held a number of public meetings throughout the summer and fall and spring over a 2-year period. And we had a lot of people attend those meetings. And we listened to everyone's ideas. Everybody had a chance to speak about the downtown. And one thing that came out of those meetings was a unanimous feeling that we have to get the downtown moving and that people were behind it. They were interested, they attended, they made their ideas and their voices known, and they overwhelmingly agreed that they wanted the direction of the downtown that we have presently embarked upon. We hope the council will have the foresight to continue this process, knowing that a redeveloped downtown will be the engine that will generate future tax dollars needed to fund many significant projects vital to the Hackensack's future. Clearly, this is not an issue of the park versus potholes. We want to make that clear. Maintenance of the roads should not even be up for discussion. The roads have to be maintained. They're going to have to find a way to do it. And we have to do the park at the same time. You need to find a way to do fix the roads, but please don't take your eye off the ball when it comes to the downtown. Other cities have invested millions of dollars just to get where we are today in the city of Hackensack.
Gary, got to wrap up soon.
Okay, 2 seconds. But they don't have our location, they don't have our density, our diversity, or our infrastructure. And you as a council also have one more thing that many cities only dream of, and that's you have the Upper Main Alliance as a dependable partner whose nonpartisan board is made up of solid business leaders from every segment of the community. And we will be with you each step along the way, providing research, professional advice, and guidance where appropriate. So I'll wrap up. I have another page or two, but the last thing I want to say is the development community is out there waiting to hear your answer. The answer needs to be yes. Yes, we're behind the downtown. Yes, we'll do whatever it takes to get this going and keep it moving. We will not bail or waffle every time a tough issue arises. Nothing short of that message will get the development community to invest the millions it will take to reshape Hackensack's downtown. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak on this issue? Seeing none, a motion to close to the public. Oh, I'm
Excuse me,
sorry,
Mayor.
we have a letter to be read. I apologize.
Yes, Mayor, I have a letter from a concerned resident who couldn't be here this evening, from Marius, excuse if I mispronounced the name, Zane
Schneiderman.
Schneiderman. Oh, thank you. 242 Summit Avenue, to the City Council, Hackensack, New Jersey. As an artist, teacher, senior citizen, and longtime resident of Hackensack, I am writing this letter to the City Council in support of the projected new Cultural Arts Center on State and Atlantic Street, the site of the old Masonic Temple. My wife and I moved to Hackensack in 1956 and had been active in Hackensack's politics and cultural affairs. Our 3 children went to Hackensack Public Schools. The city now owns that building, and losing it by selling it would be a negative step for Hackensack. The current cultural center has been successful, but is inadequate in terms of size and practicality. It could be sold or put to other uses. The new facility would be a wonderful cultural center for Hackensack and the county as an ideal location. The issue is not a choice between a cultural center, a recreational park, or a new senior citizen center. All are good for our city. Why not also have a municipal swimming pool, which so many of other towns have? The city has already invested in the purchase of the Masonic Temple. Let us not lose the opportunity of having a first-class cultural center in Hackensack, the county seat. We deserve it. People have expressed a need for a senior citizen center in town. The Masonic Temple is a large facility. The ground floor of the building could be used for senior citizens and other activities, like cultural events and art exhibits. My wife Suzanne joins me in supporting the development of the new cultural center at Atlantic and State Streets. Sincerely.
Thank you.
I think there's one more, John.
Go ahead, sir, come on up. Can you give your name and address to the clerk, please?
Yes, good evening. My name is Michael Brower, excuse me, 120 State Street. For the past 31 years, I've owned this 5,000 square foot office building at the corner of State and Atlantic, which is across the street from the new cultural center and the proposed park in parking lot west. I'm opposed to the council passing this resolution for several reasons. I believe the cultural center needs to be first in operation, and the apartment building needs to be occupied in order for the city to assess the needs and the design of parking lot west. I agree with the opposition voiced by the public at last month's council meeting that the money to build the shell does not justify the big expense right now when the public can get a bigger bang for its buck from many other needed repairs in the city. I'm very disappointed that our municipal tax rate keeps climbing, but we are not aware of any serious budget cutting to give relief to the taxpayers. This proposed park is a good place to start, or at least to put it on hold until the use and development questions in the neighborhood are answered. I'm also opposed to the park at this time because the city has not made any binding commitments to the building owners in that area whose tenants and visitors would lose the surface parking that the park is intended to replace. In summary, please slow down and do more thorough and efficient spending and planning and exercise your fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this subject? Seeing none, a motion to close.
I'll offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. At this time, moving forward, Resolution 171-14, please.
An introduction of ordinance number 18-2014, which is an ordinance amending section 170-70 entitled Schedule 21, Parking Meter Zones of Part 2 entitled General Legislation of the City of Hackensack Municipal Code.
Okay, have a motion, please.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance, being ordinance 18-2014 as introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held at May 20th, 2014 at 8 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Okay. Next, please.
Next one is Resolution 172-14, which is an introduction of ordinance number 19-2014, an ordinance amending city ordinance number 12-2013, enumeration of licenses, miscellaneous services, and fees.
May I have a motion, please?
I'll offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays. Go
Be
ahead.
it Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance, being ordinance 19-2014, is introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 20th, 2014, at 8:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be, and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Okay, next, please.
Resolution number 173-14 is an introduction of ordinance number 20-2014, an ordinance amending section 148-36 entitled Public Utility Corporation Bonds and Fees of Part 2 entitled General Legislation of the City of Hackensack Municipal Code.
May I have a motion, please?
Offered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance, being ordinance 20-2014, is introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 20th, 2014, at 8:00 p.m., or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Next, please.
This is resolution number 174-14 for an introduction of ordinance number 21-2014, an ordinance amending City of Hackensack Rehabilitation Plan for the Main Street area in need of rehabilitation.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance, being ordinance 21-2014, is introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 20th, 2014, at 8:00 p.m., or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next one is a resolution number 175-14, a resolution authorizing award of the 2013 CDBG resurfacing bid to DLS Contracting.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is resolution 176-14, a resolution in support of the interest arbitration bill.
May I have a motion, please?
Offered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, please.
Next is resolution 177-14, which is a resolution authorizing the tax collector to cancel 2013 tax credit for 15 Main Street.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is resolution 178-14, which is a resolution authorizing the tax collector to cancel sewer charges for 337 Maple Hill Drive.
May I have a motion, please?
Offered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next.
Resolution number 179-14 is a resolution recognizing May 4th through the 10th, 2014 as Municipal Clerks Week.
Motion, please.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Me too.
Yes.
Well, you too, Jim. Okay. Resolution number 180-14 is a resolution for authorization for the City of Hackensack to accept a sub-grant award of the federal fiscal year 2013 of Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management Performance Grant Program funding, and for the City of Hackensack's financial officer to amend the budget and certify the availability of funds.
A motion, please.
Offered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, please.
Resolution number 181-14 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a settlement agreement for Polyfly towing.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, please.
Resolution number 182-14 is a resolution authorizing the interlocal service agreement with the Borough of Paramus for a health office.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, please.
Resolution number 183-14 is a resolution authorizing raffle licenses for Memorial School PTA for Paramus, Hackensack Elks Lodge number 658, and Holy Trinity Roman Catholic Church.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, please.
Resolution number 184-14 is a resolution authorizing refund for Hackensack Junior Volleyball registration.
Motion?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Resolution number 185-14 is a resolution authorizing the tax collector to cancel overage amounts for 2013 sewer services for the Borough of River Edge, New Jersey.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 186-14 is a resolution authorizing tax refunds.
Motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, please.
Resolution number 187-14 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a settlement agreement regarding Birdsall Service Group.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Last, please. Or next to last.
Resolution number 188-14 is an emergency temporary appropriation prior to the adoption of the budget for NJSA 40A:4-20.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And resolution number 189-14 is a resolution authorizing the payment of bills. Current fund has $11,597,340.83. The total expenditures being $13,110,159.09. Interfunds and transfers is $342,449.22.
May I have a motion, please?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. This time I'd like a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, before we start, we're going to take a quick 2-minute recess, all right, before we open to the public.